Just one look. An Alphabet Sweethearts Romance. Written by Susanne Ash. Please like and subscribe.
Chapter 1. Beck. The first cup of coffee at the copper kettle is the only predictable part of my day, and I take it seriously. Sarah knows to leave the pot within reach at my corner booth. The one where I can keep an eye on the garage across the street. My routine is simple. Coffee first, black and burning hot, then maybe one of Sarah's sausage biscuits if she's baked that morning. It's worked for me for the past 8 years, ever since I took over the garage. No surprises, no complications. Until the bell over the door chimes. Not the gentle tinkle most people would expect, but a harsh jangle that matches the way she bursts in. A vision in white tulle and lace, looking like something that fell out of a wedding magazine and landed in our small-town diner by mistake. The morning crowd falls silent. Even the ancient ceiling fan seems to pause its creaking. Sarah's coffee pot freezes midway to a customer's cup, dark liquid trembling at the rim. The bride stands in the doorway clutching her dress like it might float away if she lets go. Her dark hair is coming loose from some intricate updo, wisps framing a face that's equal parts beautiful and terrified. My coffee cup hovers halfway to my mouth as I size her up out of habit. The dress probably cost more than my yearly maintenance budget. The pearls at her throat are real. But there's something in her eyes, something wild and desperate that says this isn't just another spoiled princess having second thoughts. She scans the diner, and I watch her shoulders rise and fall with quick, shallow breaths. When her gaze lands on me, the rest of the world seems to blur at the edges. Her eyes are hazel, the kind that probably change color with her mood, and right now they're screaming for help even though she hasn't said a word. Her voice catches, and she swallows hard. My car broke down. I don't suppose anyone here knows about old Chevys? Old Chevys. Well, perfect. I set my coffee cup down slowly, already knowing I'm going to regret this. That would be me. Relief floods her face, followed quickly by something that looks like panic. She takes a step toward my booth, then seems to remember what she's wearing. The tulle rustles like nervous whispers. It's a 56, she adds, twisting her fingers together. I can pay whatever it costs, I need to get it running again. Please. Every instinct I've developed over years of dealing with people's emergencies is firing at once. She's running from something. Or someone. The way she keeps glancing at the door tells me everything I need to know. I push back from the booth, ignoring Sarah's raised eyebrow from behind the counter. Let's take a look. Outside, the mountain morning is crisp enough to see our breath. Spring came late this year, painting bushes in shades of pink and red. But the only color I can focus on is white. Yards and yards of it trailing down the sidewalk beside me as we walk. Then I see the car. It's parked crooked by the curb, chrome gleaming in the early light. Someone's tied tin cans to the back bumper and scrawled "just married" across the rear window in white shoe polish. Except there's no groom in sight, and the bride beside me is practically vibrating with nervous energy. It died, she says, gesturing helplessly. Right in the middle of the road. I managed to coast it here, but I can tow it to my garage. I nod toward the building across the street. Lawson Auto Repair. We can. No! The word bursts out of her like a gunshot. She immediately presses her lips together, color flooding her cheeks. I mean, I'd rather not move it. If possible. Could you maybe just look at it here? I study her face, noting the shadows under her eyes poorly concealed by makeup, the way she keeps rubbing her thumb over her bare ring finger. Sure, I say finally, even though every professional instinct is screaming that this is a bad idea. Pop the hood. She fumbles with the latch, and I pretend not to notice how her hands shake. The morning sun catches something sparkling in her hair, tiny crystals woven through the dark strands. They remind me of stars, the kind you can see from the lake on clear nights. I drag my attention back to the engine. Focus on the familiar. Plugs, points, timing. Not on the way she smells like jasmine and something sweeter, or how her presence beside me makes my skin prickle with awareness. Well? Her voice is soft, uncertain. Can you fix it?
Chapter 2. Juliette. I can't stop staring at my hands. They're trembling against the white silk of my gown, and there's a spot of grease on my left thumb from the car hood. 7 hours ago, a wedding planner was fussing over my French-tipped manicure. Now I'm standing in front of an auto repair shop in the middle of nowhere, wearing a $60,000 dress, with exactly one credit card, my phone, and the desperate hope that no one finds me before I figure out what comes next. What comes next? The thought makes my stomach clench. I lift my gaze to the man unlocking the garage door. Beckett Lawson is possibly the least chatty, most unimpressed person I've ever met. He hasn't smiled once. Hasn't asked why a bride is wandering through his town without a groom. Hasn't even seemed particularly interested in my explanation about heading to a friend's place up north. He just grunts and keeps moving, like stranded brides in vintage Chevys are an everyday occurrence in Juniper Falls. I'm pathetically grateful for it. Watch your step, he says, flipping on lights that illuminate a startlingly clean garage. There are 3 service bays, a small office area visible through a glass partition, and tools organized with military precision on pegboards. The concrete floor looks like someone actually scrubs it. I follow him inside, gathering armfuls of tulle to keep my dress from dragging. The rustling sounds obscenely loud in the quiet space. Everything about me feels wrong here. I'm too loud, too white, too much. So you can fix my car now that it's here? I ask, mostly to break the silence. He gives me a look that makes me feel about 2 inches tall. I told you at the diner. It'll take a few days. Need to order parts for these old models. Right. I take a deep breath, trying not to panic. A few days. That's good. That gives me time to what? I have no plan. No destination. Just the bone-deep certainty that I couldn't walk down that aisle today. Is there a hotel nearby, or? Nothing close. He crosses his arms over his chest, and I notice for the first time how his flannel shirt stretches across broad shoulders. There's something solid about him that makes me feel marginally less like I'm about to float away in a panic. Nearest place is in Elk Ridge, about 20 minutes west. 20 minutes. My heart sinks. I don't even have a way to get there, and calling a rideshare would mean using my phone, which means leaving a digital trail. One that leads straight to me. What am I doing? My family will be frantic. Richard will be humiliated. Months of planning, hundreds of guests, all those expectations crushed beneath the wheels of a 1956 Chevy that couldn't even get me properly away. Hey. His voice breaks through my spiral. You okay? I blink rapidly, horrified to find tears threatening. I'm fine. Totally fine. I gesture hopelessly at my dress, the garage, everything. A little overwhelmed. He studies me for a long moment, those blue-gray eyes seeing way too much. Then he sighs, the sound somewhere between resignation and defeat. There's an apartment upstairs, he says finally, nodding toward a door at the back of the garage. Nothing fancy. But it's clean. I stare at him, not quite comprehending. You're offering me a place to stay? He shifts his weight, looking like he already regrets the suggestion. Until your car's fixed. Seems easier than figuring out transport to Elk Ridge. Oh. Relief floods through me, so intense I feel lightheaded. That would be, yes. Thank you. He shrugs, like he hasn't just thrown me a lifeline. Come on. I'll show you. I follow him up a narrow staircase, my dress making progress difficult. Each step feels like climbing a mountain. The events of the day, of the past week, really, are finally catching up with me. The sleepless nights. The quiet panic attacks in bathroom stalls. The moment this morning when I looked in the mirror and knew, with absolute certainty, that I couldn't go through with it. The apartment is small but surprisingly bright, with windows that face the main street. There's a compact kitchen area, a couch that's seen better days, and a door that presumably leads to a bedroom. Everything is neat, if a bit sparse. No personal touches, no photos or knickknacks. Just furniture and bare walls. Bathroom's through there, he says, pointing. Hot water takes a minute to kick in. I turn in a slow circle, taking it all in. It's nothing like the penthouse Richard and I were supposed to share tonight. Nothing like my family's meticulously decorated home. But right now, it feels like the safest place in the world. You can stay as long as the car takes, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. I nod, looking around at the sparse furnishings. Despite the lack of personal touches, there's something lived in about the space. There's a coffee mug in the sink and a worn paperback sits on the side table. But I'm too exhausted to think about it much. I'm just grateful for a place to hide. Thank you, I say again, because what else can I say? Sorry for disrupting your day with my personal crisis doesn't quite cover it. I work until 6. Grocery store's 2 blocks that way. He points west. Novel Sips does coffee and sandwiches. And you know about the diner? I nod, mentally mapping the tiny town. Got it. He lingers for a moment more, like he wants to say something else. Then he shakes his head. I'll start on your car this afternoon. And then he's gone, boots heavy on the stairs, leaving me alone in a stranger's apartment, wearing a wedding dress that cost more than most cars, with absolutely no idea what happens next. I sink onto the couch, the tulle of my dress billowing around me like a deflating parachute. For the first time since I climbed out the bathroom window at the resort, I let myself breathe. Really breathe. No one knows where I am. No one is watching, waiting for me to make the perfect choice, say the perfect thing, be the perfect Calloway. I've never felt so terrified. I've never felt so free. After what feels like hours of sitting frozen in place, I finally peel myself off the couch. The dress makes a crackling sound as I move, the layers of tulle stiff with hairspray and floral fixative. I can't stay in it another minute. Not if I want to maintain what's left of my sanity. The bathroom is small but spotless, with a shower stall, worn towels folded on a metal rack, and a medicine cabinet that I resist the urge to peek inside. I turn the shower knob as hot as it will go and wait, just like Beck said, for the ancient pipes to wheeze to life. While the water heats, I struggle with the 37 pearl buttons running down my spine. After 5 minutes of contorting my arms and cursing under my breath, I give up and just pull the whole thing over my head. $60,000 of hand-beaded lace catches on my earrings, and I hear something tear. The sound should devastate me. This dress was my mother's pride and joy, selected after appointments at 12 different bridal salons. But all I feel is relief as I step out of the crumpled white cloud. The hot water is heaven against my skin, washing away the hairspray, the makeup, the lingering scent of the rose perfume Richard had sent to my suite this morning. I stay under the spray until my fingertips wrinkle, letting the reality of what I'd done sink in along with the steam. I ran away. Left everyone at the altar. Ran without a plan, without a backup, without so much as a change of clothes. The clothes. Right. Wrapped in a threadbare towel, I venture back into the apartment. I should put the gown back on, but the very thought makes my chest tighten with panic. There has to be something else I can wear, at least until I can get to a store. I hesitate only a moment before opening the bedroom door. It feels like an invasion of privacy, but desperation wins out over manners. The room is as spartanly furnished as the rest of the apartment. It holds a double bed with a navy comforter, a nightstand with a reading lamp, and a dresser that has definitely seen better days. There's nothing on the walls except for a single framed photograph of an older woman standing in front of the garage, her smile warm even in black and white. I open the dresser drawers, feeling like a burglar. The top drawer holds neatly folded t-shirts, all men's, all well worn. This is clearly Beck's place, and I'm rummaging through his things. Guilt prickles along my skin, but not enough to make me stop. I select the smallest shirt I can find, a faded blue one with Lawson Auto printed across the chest, and a pair of drawstring sweatpants that will definitely be too big. Beggars can't be choosers, and these are infinitely better than bridal couture. Once dressed, I feel human again. The clothes smell faintly of laundry detergent and something else, cedar, maybe, or sandalwood. Something distinctly masculine that makes me acutely aware I'm wearing a strange man's clothes. A strange man who lied about where he lives, who's fixing my getaway car, who hasn't asked a single question about why I'm in this situation. I should stay upstairs. Rest. Figure out what on earth I'm going to do next. Instead, I find myself heading down the stairs to the garage. The mechanical symphony hits me first. There's metal clanking against metal, the hum of some machine I can't identify, and the soft thud of tools being set down on a workbench. Beck is bent over the open hood of my Chevy, his focus so complete he doesn't notice me until I'm a few feet away. When he straightens, his eyes widen slightly at the sight of me in his clothes. "I hope you don't mind," I say quickly. I couldn't stay in that dress another minute, and I didn't have anything else, Anne. He holds up a hand, cutting off my rambling. "It's fine." I wait for him to say more, but that's apparently all I'm getting. The silence stretches between us, broken only by the ticking of the cooling engine. I realized this is actually your apartment," I say finally. His shoulders tense slightly. "Wasn't sure you'd stay if you knew." He's probably right. Something about the thought of sleeping in a strange man's bed would have sent me running. If I had anywhere to run to. "You can't sleep in the garage," I protest weakly. He shrugs, the movement drawing my attention to the broad set of his shoulders beneath his flannel shirt. "I've got a cot in the office." "But..." "Look." He sets down a wrench, wiping his hands on a rag that leaves grease streaks anyway. "It's not a big deal. You need a place. I've got one. End of story." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a set of keys, holding them out to me. "Apartment key, front door key. Come and go as you need. You don't owe me anything." I take the keys, the metal warm from his pocket. "Thank you." Really? Most people would have asked a lot more questions. Something that might almost be a smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. Most people talk too much. With that, he turns back to the car, effectively dismissing me. But instead of going back upstairs, I perch on a nearby stool, watching him work. There's something mesmerizing about his movements. They are efficient, precise, like he's having a conversation with the machinery that only he can hear. His hands are large but surprisingly graceful as they adjust something inside the engine. "Can I help?" I ask, immediately wondering why I offered. I know exactly nothing about cars. He glances at me, one eyebrow lifting. "You know how to rebuild a carburetor?" "No, but I'm a quick learner." That, at least, is true. Growing up a Calloway meant adapting quickly to whatever new skill was deemed necessary: tennis, French, the perfect posture for society photographs. He studies me for a moment, then nods at a nearby toolbox. "Hand me the socket wrench." 3/8. I stare at the jumble of metal implements, not having the faintest idea which is which. After a moment of panic, I spot one that has 3/8 etched into its side. "This one?" I hold it up hopefully. He nods, and the approval in that small gesture warms me more than it should. For the next hour, I play assistant, handing him tools I can't name and listening to the sparse explanations he offers about what he's doing. I understand maybe one word in three, but there's something soothing about being useful, about focusing on this mechanical puzzle instead of the wreckage of my life. "What made you become a mechanic?" I ask during a lull. He's quiet for so long I think he might not answer. Then, without looking up, "I'm good with my hands. Don't have to talk much." I laugh, the sound surprising both of us. "Fair enough."
Chapter 3. Beck. The Chevy's carburetor is in pieces across my workbench, each component meticulously arranged in the order I removed it. I've rebuilt these 100 times, could probably do it blindfolded, but today my focus keeps slipping. It doesn't help that I slept terribly on the office cot, my back protesting every time I move. Or that I can hear her moving around upstairs, soft footsteps, water running, the occasional creak of floorboards. She moves quietly, like someone used to not disturbing others. I pick up the float valve, turning it over in my hands. The metal is worn but salvageable. Just needs a good cleaning and proper adjustment. Simple fix. Unlike the woman upstairs. Nothing simple about her. I should mind my own business. That's always been my policy. Fix what's broken, don't ask questions that aren't about engines or transmissions. People come to me with mechanical problems, not personal ones, and that suits me just fine. But something about Juliette Calloway sticks with me. The way she looked standing in that diner doorway, like someone who just jumped off a cliff and was still waiting to hit the ground. The quiet determination in her voice when she thanked me. She's running from something big. Has to be, to leave a wedding that expensive looking. I wonder what the groom did, or didn't do, to make her bolt. Wonder if he's looking for her right now. The thought makes my hands still on the carburetor parts. If someone is searching, they'll find her eventually. Juniper Falls isn't exactly off the grid. And when they do, not my problem, I remind myself sharply. I'm fixing her car. That's it. The bell over the front door chimes, pulling me from thoughts I shouldn't be having. It's early for customers, barely 7:30, but some of the farmers like to drop their trucks off before heading to their fields. Instead, it's Sarah from the diner, carrying a paper bag that smells like cinnamon and coffee. Morning, sunshine, she calls, setting the bag on my counter. Brought you breakfast since you missed your usual time. I grunt my thanks, wiping my hands on a shop rag. Didn't have to do that. I know. She eyes the disassembled carburetor. That from the wedding car? News travels fast in Juniper Falls. Always has. Yep. She leans against the counter, trying to look casual and failing. Sarah's about as subtle as a freight train. The bride seemed nice. Pretty, too. I focus on arranging my tools, avoiding her gaze. Wouldn't know. Really? She clicks her tongue. Because Maggie over at Novel Sips said she saw her heading into your place yesterday wearing your old Lawson Auto shirt. The blue one. I set down a wrench with more force than necessary. She needed clothes. The dress wasn't practical. Of course not, Sarah agrees too quickly. Very impractical for staying in a strange man's apartment. My head snaps up. It's not like that. No? There's no judgment in her tone, just curiosity. Then what is it like, Beck? Her car broke down. She needed a place to stay. I turn back to the carburetor, signaling that the conversation is over. End of story. Sarah is quiet for a moment. She came into the diner this morning. Asked if I needed help for a few days. That gets my attention. She did what? Hired her on the spot. Sarah looks pleased with herself. Girl knows her way around a coffee pot, and Janie just left for college. Perfect timing. Something uncomfortable twists in my chest. She's not staying, Sarah. Maybe. She pushes away from the counter. But she sure charmed the breakfast crowd. Even got old Mr. Patterson to laugh, and you know how he is before his second cup. I do know. The retired postal worker has the sunny disposition of a rattlesnake most mornings. Anyway, Sarah continues, heading for the door, thought you'd want to know. After she leaves, I stand there for a long minute, staring at the carburetor parts without really seeing them. Juliette, working at the diner. Juliette, making Patterson laugh. Juliette, fitting in. It shouldn't bother me. The easier she adapts, the less I need to worry about her. Not that I'm worried. I'm not. At all. I pick up the float valve again, forcing my attention back to the task at hand. I need to order parts. Need to focus. Need to stop thinking about hazel eyes and the way she looked sitting on that stool yesterday, genuinely interested in what I was doing. When lunchtime rolls around, I tell myself I'm heading to the diner because I always do on Thursdays. Not because I want to see if Sarah was right. Not because I'm curious about how a runaway bride in borrowed clothes is handling slinging coffee to the locals. The copper kettle is busier than usual for a weekday. I spot Andrew from Novel Sips at the counter, Hazel Elliott holding court with her usual group of retired teachers in the corner booth, and, surprisingly, Henry Caldwell, who usually eats at his insurance office. Then I see her, and everything else fades to background noise. Juliette moves between tables with surprising efficiency, coffee pot in one hand, order pad in the other. She's wearing jeans and my Lawson auto shirt knotted at the waist. Her dark hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she's laughing at something Hazel is saying. She looks like she belongs here. Like she's been serving coffee in this diner her whole life. She turns, and our eyes meet across the diner. Her smile falters for just a second before brightening again. She says something to Hazel, then makes her way toward me. "The booth you sat at the other day is taken," she says by way of greeting. "But there's a spot at the counter." I nod, following her to the last empty stool. The diner really is packed. "You're working here now." She sets a menu in front of me, even though I never use one. "Just temporarily. Until..." She gestures vaguely. "You know. Until I fix her car. Until she figures out where she's going. Until whoever she's running from catches up." She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. "Well, what can I get you?" "Sarah says you always have the special, but I don't want to assume." "Special's fine." I hand back the unused menu. "And coffee." She nods, turning toward the kitchen, but I find myself speaking again before I can stop myself. "How are you settling in?" She pauses, surprise flickering across her face at the personal question. Then that smile returns, smaller but more genuine. "Better than expected. Everyone's been kind." She gestures around the diner. "It's a nice town you have here." It's not really mine, but the way she says it makes something warm unfurl in my chest. Something I immediately try to stamp out. The day slips into evening, the autumn sun setting earlier now behind the mountains. I've been hunched over the Chevy's engine for hours, trying to fix an electrical issue that keeps eluding me. The problem should be simple, something's draining the battery, but like everything with this car, the solution is proving complicated. The garage door opens behind me, letting in a gust of cool air that carries the scent of something delicious. I don't need to turn around to know who it is. "I brought you dinner," Juliette says, her footsteps light on the concrete floor. I do turn, wiping my hands on a rag. She's standing there with 2 covered plates and what looks like genuine nervousness in her eyes. "You didn't have to do that," I say, but I'm already setting down my tools. "I wanted to." She sets the plate on my workbench, carefully moving aside a spark plug. "It's pasta. Nothing fancy. But I figured you'd work through dinner, and..." She trails off, uncertain. I realize she's waiting for me to say something, but words have never been my strong suit. Especially around her. "Thanks," I manage finally, awkwardly gesturing toward the office. "We can eat in there. Less grease." Her smile is like a light being switched on. "Great." The space feels too small with both of us in it. I sit behind the desk, she takes the visitor chair, and somehow our knees are still almost touching. The pasta is simple, spaghetti with a meat sauce, but it smells like heaven and tastes even better. "This is good," I say after a few bites, surprised by how hungry I am. "Really good." She looks pleased, a slight flush coloring her cheeks. "My grandmother taught me." It was the one thing my mother couldn't criticize because it was her mother's recipe. It's the first personal detail she's volunteered, and I find myself hungry for more. "Your mother criticizes your cooking?" "My mother criticizes everything." She twirls pasta around her fork with practiced elegance. "The way I dress, the way I speak, the way I breathe. It's her special talent." There's humor in her voice, but I catch the hurt underneath. "Sounds exhausting." It was. She looks up, meeting my eyes. "Is. I guess old habits die hard." The silence that follows is surprisingly comfortable. Through the office window, I can see the Chevy waiting patiently, its chrome gleaming under the shop lights. "How's it coming?" she asks, following my gaze. "Slow. Parts should be here tomorrow." I take another bite of pasta. "Might make it run, but it'll need more work to be reliable." She nods, and I notice she's wearing earrings today, small pearls that catch the light when she moves. They match the delicate line of her throat, the graceful way she holds herself even in borrowed clothes. "What?" she asks, catching me staring. I look away quickly. "Nothing." But it isn't nothing. It's the way she fits here, in my cluttered office, eating pasta off my mismatched plates like it's the most natural thing in the world. It's dangerous, how easy this feels. "Tell me about the car," she says, mercifully changing the subject. "Is it special?" "Besides being old, I mean." I find myself explaining about the '56 Chevy Bel Air, about its significance in automotive history, about the restoration someone clearly put a lot of time and money into. She listens attentively, asking questions that show she's genuinely interested. "So it's a classic," she says when I finish. What did you call it?" "A survivor car?" I nod, surprised she remembered the term. "One of the good ones." "Like you," she says, so softly I almost miss it. Our eyes meet across the desk, and something shifts in the air between us. I should look away. Should remind myself that she's a client, a temporary guest, a woman clearly running from something. Or someone. Instead, I find myself noticing the flecks of green in her hazel eyes, the small scar near her right eyebrow, the way her lips part slightly as she realizes what she just said. "I should get back to work," I say abruptly, standing up. The spell breaks, and relief mingles with disappointment in her expression. "Right. Of course." She gathers the plates. "I'll rinse these off in the sink out back." Back at the workbench, I try to focus on the electrical diagram spread out before me. But awareness of her presence, just a few feet away, washing dishes in the utility sink, makes concentration impossible. She returns, drying her hands on a paper towel. "Mind if I watch for a bit?" "I promise not to talk your ear off." I grunt something that she correctly interprets as agreement, and she settles onto the same stool from yesterday. The silence between us is companionable as I work, broken only by the occasional question from her about what I'm doing. "Could you hand me that socket wrench?" I ask after a while, nodding toward the toolbox. She reaches for it at the same moment I do, our fingers brushing across cold metal. The contact is brief, accidental, nothing more than a momentary touch, but electricity shoots up my arm like I've grabbed a live wire. Her sharp intake of breath tells me she felt it too. Our eyes meet over the toolbox, and for a heartbeat, neither of us moves. Everything narrows to the point where our skin connects, to the warmth spreading through my chest, to the slight widening of her pupils. She pulls back first, tucking her hands safely under her thighs. "Sorry," she murmurs, though there's nothing to apologize for. "'S fine," I manage, taking the wrench and turning back to the engine. My heart is hammering like I've just run up the mountain. Over nothing. Over a touch that lasted less than a second.
Chapter 4. Juliette. I wipe down the last table, tucking stray strands of hair behind my ear. 7 days. I've been in Juniper Falls for an entire week, and somehow it feels both longer and shorter than that. "You missed a spot," Sarah calls from behind the counter, but her smile takes any sting from the words. I grin back, attacking the imaginary smudge with my cloth. "Can't have that. The copper kettle must maintain its standards. Don't I know it?" She hangs up her apron, checking the wall clock. "Are you ready? We should head over to the community center soon. We don't want to miss the start. The town fundraiser." I'd nearly forgotten, despite the posters that have been hanging in the diner. "I'm not sure I should go," I say, hesitation creeping in. "I mean, I'm not really from here." Sarah gives me a look that brooks no argument. "Honey, you've served coffee to half the town and helped Hazel Elliott organize her book club list. you're going. Put like that, it's hard to argue. In 2 weeks, I've somehow accumulated more genuine connections than I had in 27 years in my parents' world of strategic socializing. Back home, every interaction was calculated. Here, people talk to me because they want to. Alright, I concede, hanging up my own apron. But I don't have anything to wear. Good thing I brought you this. Sarah pulls a light cardigan from her bag, a soft, pale blue that looks both practical and pretty. It's from Hazel. She knits when she can't sleep, which means we all have about 15 sweaters each. My throat tightens as I take the cardigan. It's hand-knit, with tiny delicate stitches. She made this? For me? She says blue brings out your eyes. Sarah squeezes my shoulder. Like I said, you're not just passing through anymore. Not to us. The words follow me like a warm shadow as we walk to the community center. It's a modest brick building with freshly painted trim, surrounded by newly planted flower beds. Nothing like the grand venues I'm used to, but somehow more inviting. Inside, the large main room has been transformed with simple decorations. Vases full of wildflowers are sitting on folding tables. There's a small refreshment station in the corner, and chairs are arranged in a semicircle facing a makeshift stage area. The space is already filling with people, their chatter creating a pleasant hum. There are Maggie and Andrew from Novel Sips, Sarah points out. And Lila from the flower shop. Oh, and there's Beck. My heart does a ridiculous little stutter at the name. I've been carefully avoiding thinking about our moment in the garage 3 nights ago, the brush of fingers, the sudden electricity, the way neither of us has mentioned it since. Where? I ask, trying to sound casual. Sarah points toward the side of the room where a few people are setting up audio equipment. Gray shirt. Testing the sound system with Rose from the garden committee. She's right. Even from here, I can see Beck adjusting something on a speaker, his movements focused and precise. Rose, who I know from her morning coffee order, is talking animatedly, and to my surprise, Beck is actually responding, nodding, and occasionally saying something that makes her smile. He volunteers with the technical stuff, Sarah explains with obvious fondness. Beck helps with community events? I can't keep the surprise from my voice. In his way. He's not one for committees or planning, but he shows up. Fixes things. Makes sure it all works. She gives me a sidelong glance. Didn't think he was the community type? I struggle to articulate the disconnect between the gruff, solitary mechanic I've come to know and the man comfortably working alongside his neighbors. He seems so private. He is. But this is different. This is home. She bumps my shoulder with hers. Come on, let's grab seats before the good ones are taken. The next hour passes quietly but pleasantly. I meet Tessa from Brooks General Store, who compliments Hazel's cardigan. And I chat with Lainey from Porter's Creamery, who insists I visit her shop soon for the best ice cream in 3 counties. It's only when I pause during a lull in the program that I realize how natural it all feels. How, for the first time in my life, I'm not calculating what to say or how to stand or whether I'm making the right impression. I'm just being. As the evening progresses, I find myself watching Beck when he thinks no one is looking. He moves around the edges of the gathering, adjusting the sound when needed, speaking briefly with people who approach him. Not quite part of the crowd, but not separate from it either. Then something unexpected happens. When the current performer finishes, Daniel from the garden committee takes the microphone to thank everyone for coming, specifically mentioning Beck for making sure we can all hear each other, as usual. There's a warm round of applause, and I watch as Beck gives a small wave of acknowledgement. But what catches me off guard is his smile. Someone calls out thanks, Beck, and he responds with a quick joke I can't quite hear, prompting laughter from those nearby. It transforms him completely, this moment of connection. He looks younger. More at ease. Like a different person entirely from the brooding mechanic I've been living above. As if feeling my gaze, he glances over. Our eyes lock across the room, and his smile doesn't fade. If anything, it softens into something more intimate, just for me. He raises his hand in a small wave, and I return the gesture, warmth spreading through me that has nothing to do with Hazel's cardigan. The community center empties slowly, conversation spilling out into the mild evening air. Beck finds me as I'm saying goodnight to Sarah. Heading back? He asks, hands in his pockets. I nod, surprised but pleased. Just walking. It's such a nice night. I'll walk with you. We fall into step together, the streets of Juniper Falls quiet now, storefronts dark except for the soft glow of security lights. Our footsteps echo on the sidewalk, creating a rhythm that feels strangely comfortable. You were good tonight, I say finally. With the sound system. He shrugs, but I catch the slight lift at the corner of his mouth. Just twisting a few knobs. It's more than that. You're part of this place. I can see it. He doesn't respond, but his arm brushes against mine as we walk, and neither of us moves away. Too soon, we reach the side entrance to the garage. Beck takes out his keys, unlocking the door that leads to the stairwell. The familiar scent of motor oil and cedar greets us. We both hesitate on the threshold. I turn to face him, suddenly aware of how close we're standing, his broad shoulders blocking out the streetlight behind him. Thank you for walking me home, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Just being a good neighbor. But his eyes tell a different story as they drop to my lips. Something shifts between us, an electric current humming with possibility. He moves closer, and I find myself swaying toward him, drawn by a gravity I can't fight. His hand touches my cheek. His fingers are warm, slightly calloused, and I lean into the contact. Juliette. My name is a rough whisper on his lips, and I close my eyes, waiting. But the touch of his lips never comes. Instead, his hand drops away, and cold air rushes between us as he steps back. My eyes flutter open to find him looking at me with desire mixed with something that looks painfully like regret. You should get some rest, he says, his voice carefully controlled. Confusion twists through me. Beck? He stands half in shadow, his expression guarded. People like you don't stay in places like this, Juliette. We both know that. The words land like pebbles, small but sharp. People like me? You have a life somewhere. One that doesn't include small-town garages. His voice is gentle but firm. One you'll go back to once I fix that car. I want to argue, but am I wrong? 2 weeks ago, I was preparing to marry into one of Charlotte's most prominent families. Right, I say finally, unable to find better words. Good night, then. Good night, he echoes, already turning away.
Chapter 5. Beck. 2 days of avoiding her, and I'm already failing miserably. I told myself I'd keep my distance after that night. After almost making a mistake that would have complicated everything. But here I am, sitting at the counter of the copper kettle instead of my usual booth, watching her refill coffee cups with a grace that makes something twist in my chest. She hasn't mentioned it. Neither have I. We've settled into a careful dance of polite nods and brief conversations about the weather. It should make things easier. It doesn't. The bell above the door chimes as Henry Caldwell enters, shaking raindrops from his umbrella. Spring rain has been falling steadily since dawn, drumming against the diner's windows in a soothing rhythm that does nothing to calm my thoughts. Morning, Beck, Henry calls, taking his usual seat 3 stools down from me. Car parts come in yet? I grunt an affirmative, keeping my eyes on my coffee. A crash from the kitchen breaks through my thoughts. A pipe burst under the sink, Juliette explains as she rushes past me. Sarah's trying to shut off the water, but the valve's stuck. I'm on my feet before I can think about it, following her through the swinging door into the kitchen. Water is pooling across the floor, and Sarah is kneeling in front of an ancient sink, wrestling with a rusted shut-off valve. Move, I say, crouching beside her. The valve is completely seized, corroded from years of neglect. I need a wrench. And towels. Juliette is already gathering every dish towel in sight, while Sarah hurries to grab the toolbox she keeps for minor repairs. The water isn't gushing, but it's steady enough to be a problem if we don't stop it soon. I take the wrench, applying pressure to the valve at just the right angle. Years of fixing stubborn bolts and stuck parts make this almost routine. With a metallic groan, the valve finally turns, and the flow of water slows to a trickle, then stops. Sarah sighs, pushing damp hair from her forehead. Beck Lawson, you're a lifesaver. I shake my head, already examining the pipe. It's a temporary fix. You'll need this section replaced. Can you do it? Sarah asks. I'd call a plumber, but on a Sunday. I can do it now. Got what I need at the garage. I stand, wiping my hands on my jeans. 20 minutes, tops. I'll help, Juliette offers, already mopping up water with towels. Sarah looks between us, something knowing in her eyes that I choose to ignore. Perfect. I'll handle the front while you two deal with this mess. 20 minutes turns into 30 as we empty the cabinet under the sink, me working on the pipe while Juliette hands me tools and holds a flashlight. We work in silence for the most part, but it's different from the awkward quiet of the past few days. This is companionable. Comfortable. There, I say finally, tightening the last connection. Should hold now. Juliette tests the faucet, and when no water leaks from below, she gives me a smile that hits me square in the chest. You fixed it. Again. It's what I do. I start gathering tools, avoiding her eyes. Yes, she says, her voice softer now. It is what you do. You fix things. Cars, sound systems, leaky pipes. She pauses, and I can feel her watching me. It's easier than talking, isn't it? I look up, meeting her gaze. There's no judgment in her eyes, just a quiet understanding that somehow feels more dangerous. What's there to talk about? The question comes out rougher than I intended. Us, maybe. She says it so simply, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. That night. What almost happened? My hands still on the tools. Nothing happened. But it could have. She takes a step closer. The air between us grows heavy, charged with everything we've been not saying for days. Water drips steadily from the faucet, marking seconds that stretch into eternity. You're leaving. The words sound hollow even to my own ears. Once the car's fixed. Is that why you pulled away? Because I might leave? Challenge flashes in her eyes. Or is it because you're afraid I might stay? The question hits too close to home, cracking something open inside me. I straighten, putting the wrench down with more force than necessary. What do you want from me, Juliette? Honesty. For starters. She doesn't back down, meeting my gaze steadily. Stop fixing things and talk to me. Fine. You want honesty? Something snaps inside me, the careful control I've maintained fracturing under the weight of her gaze. I think about you. All the time. When I should be working. When I should be sleeping. I think about how you look in the morning light, how you laugh at Patterson's terrible jokes, how you fit here like you've always been here. Her eyes widen, lips parting in surprise at my outburst. I think about kissing you, I continue, the words rushing out now that the dam has broken. About how complicated that would make everything. About how much worse it'll be when you leave. Beck? Because you will leave. Eventually. Everyone does. She moves then, closing the distance between us with 2 quick steps. You don't know that. I do. But my conviction wavers as she reaches up, her hand hovering near my face. No, she whispers. You don't. Her fingers brush my cheek, and all my carefully constructed reasons crumble to dust. The tension that's been building for weeks finally, inevitably snaps. I'm not sure who moves first. Maybe both of us. All I know is her lips are suddenly on mine, soft and warm and everything I've been trying not to want. My hands find her waist, pulling her closer as the kiss deepens, turns hungry. She tastes like coffee and possibility, and I'm drowning in it, in her. The world narrows to the points where we connect, her hands in my hair, my arms around her waist, our heartbeats racing against each other. Then reality crashes back. What am I doing? This isn't part of the plan. This makes everything worse. I pull away abruptly, stepping back until I hit the edge of the counter. Her face is flushed, eyes wide with surprise at the sudden shift. I'm sorry, I mutter, already reaching for tools, shoving them haphazardly into the box. That shouldn't have happened. Beck, her voice is soft, confused. I need to go. I can't look at her, can't face what I see in those hazel eyes. Tell Sarah the pipe's fixed. I'm out the back door before she can respond, rain hitting my face in a cold shock as I stride toward the garage. My lips still burn with the memory of hers, making the rain feel like steam where it touches my skin.
Chapter 6. Juliette. I've been rearranging sugar packets for 15 minutes, trying to make them perfectly symmetrical. It's a pointless task, but it keeps my hands busy and my mind off the memory of Beck's lips on mine. Off the confusion that followed when he practically ran out the door. You're going to wear a hole in that counter, Sarah comments, sliding a plate of muffins into the display case. Staring at it that hard. I force a smile, abandoning the sugar packets. I'm organizing. She gives me that knowing look that seems to be her specialty. That why you've refilled the same coffee pot 3 times this morning? I wince. Sorry about that. Honey, whatever's going on between you and Beck. Talk to him. She pats my hand. That man's about as communicative as a fence post unless you drag the words out of him. I'm saved from responding by the chime of the bell over the door. My heart does a ridiculous stutter step before I even look up, as if it knows who's there before I do. Beck stands just inside the entrance, looking as uncomfortable as I've ever seen him. His hair is damp, like he just showered, and he's wearing a clean flannel shirt I haven't seen before, dark blue that makes his eyes look stormy. He approaches the counter slowly, like I might bolt. Or maybe like he might. Morning, he says, his voice catching slightly on the word. Morning. I'm proud of how steady my voice sounds. Coffee? No. He shifts his weight, glancing around the nearly empty diner. It's mid-morning, the lull between breakfast and lunch. I thought, if you can get away for a bit. I raise an eyebrow, waiting. He exhales heavily. I want to show you something. If you're free. Sarah materializes beside me, untying my apron strings before I can respond. She's free. I can cover till the lunch shift. Beck looks as surprised as I feel. You sure? Positive. Sarah all but pushes me from behind the counter. Go on, you too. It's a beautiful day. It is beautiful, the kind of perfect spring day that feels like a gift after yesterday's rain. The air is clear and sweet, the sky a watercolor blue. Beck leads me to his truck, an older Ford that's clearly been meticulously maintained. He opens the passenger door for me, a gesture so at odds with his usual gruffness that I find myself charmed despite my lingering confusion. We drive in silence at first, following the winding road that leads up into the hills surrounding Juniper Falls. The town falls away behind us, replaced by stands of pine and budding deciduous trees, their new leaves a tender green against the deeper forest. I owe you an apology, he says finally, eyes fixed on the road. For yesterday. For walking away. I turn to look at his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the slight furrow between his brows. Why did you? His hands tighten on the steering wheel. Habit, maybe. He pauses. Self-preservation, definitely. From what? Me? The question comes out softer than I intended. He takes a turn onto a narrower road, the truck climbing higher. From feeling something I can't control. The simple honesty of his words steals my breath. Before I can respond, he pulls over at a small clearing that opens to a breathtaking vista. The valley spread below us, Juniper Falls nestled among the trees like a village in a storybook, the river winding through it like a silver ribbon. Oh, I breathe, taking in the view. It's beautiful. Thought you might like to see it. He cuts the engine but makes no move to get out. My dad used to bring me up here when I was little. Before he left. The casualness with which he mentions it doesn't quite mask the old hurt underneath. I stay quiet, sensing this is hard for him. I was 8, he continues, staring out at the view. He packed a bag one day and never came back. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. I'm sorry, I say softly, meaning it. He shrugs, but I can see the tension in his shoulders. Mom worked herself to the bone keeping the garage going after that. Taught me everything about cars, about fixing things. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. Said if we could fix engines, we could fix anything. Except people leaving, I guess quietly. His eyes meet mine, startled by my perception. Yeah. Except that. Sunlight streams through the windshield, catching the gold flecks in his hair. I find myself wanting to touch it, to feel if it's as soft as it looks. What about you? He asks. What are you running from? The question should feel intrusive, but somehow it doesn't. Not here, not with him. A life someone else designed. A marriage that looked perfect on paper. The groom from the car? I nod, twisting my hands in my lap. Richard. He's successful, polite, comes from the right family. Everything my parents wanted for me. But not what you wanted. I thought it was. For a long time. I watch a hawk circle lazily over the valley. I was raised to be the perfect daughter, the perfect society wife. I've spent my whole life trying to be enough. Pretty enough, graceful enough, obedient enough. And then? And then I was standing there in that ridiculous dress, staring at myself in the mirror, and I realized I'd never be enough. Not for them. I take a shaky breath. Because what they wanted wasn't me at all. He's quiet for a long moment. Then his hand covers mine, calloused and warm. You're enough, Juliette. More than enough. My eyes burn with unexpected tears. Such simple words, but they pierce straight through all my carefully constructed defenses. You don't even know me, I whisper. I know enough. His gaze drops to my lips, and this time there's no mistaking his intention. He leans in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I don't. His lips meet mine with gentle certainty, nothing like the desperate clash of yesterday. This kiss is a question, an offering. My hands find his shoulders as I answer, drawing him closer. Time seems to slow as his fingers thread through my hair, cradling the back of my head with surprising tenderness. The scent of him envelopes me, clean soap, faint cedar, and something uniquely Beck that makes my heart stumble in my chest. His lips are softer than they look, moving against mine with a deliberate care that makes my skin tingle from my scalp to my toes. I taste coffee and mint on his breath, feel the slight roughness of day-old stubble against my palm as I cup his cheek. When his tongue traces the seam of my lips, a small sound escapes me, half sigh, half plea, and the kiss deepens, becomes something hungry and reverent all at once. The world narrows to the points where we connect. His hand at the nape of my neck. My fingers gripping the solid warmth of his shoulder. Our lips exploring with growing confidence. Around us, birds call to each other in the trees, a gentle counterpoint to the thundering of my pulse in my ears. Sunlight warms my skin where it streams through the window, but it's nothing compared to the heat building between us, flowing like honey through my veins until I'm dizzy with it, anchored only by his touch. When we finally part, his forehead rests against mine, our breaths mingling in the quiet space between us. There's no panic in his eyes now, no urge to retreat. Just a warmth that makes my heart race. I'm still leaving eventually, I feel compelled to remind him, even as my fingers trace the line of his jaw. His smile is small but genuine. Maybe. But not today. No, I agree, something like hope unfurling in my chest. Not today. Moonlight spills through the apartment windows, painting silver stripes across the floor. I sit curled in the window seat. Below, Beck is spending another night on that uncomfortable cot in his office. I trace patterns in the condensation on the window glass, feeling something I can't quite name. Contentment, maybe. Or peace. The unfamiliar sensation of simply being myself, without pretense or performance. This is what I've been searching for without knowing it. This quiet certainty, this sense of choosing my own path. Of being wanted for exactly who I am, not who someone expects me to be. My phone sits dark on the cushion beside me. I haven't turned it on in days, couldn't bear to face the barrage I knew would be waiting. But tonight, in this newfound calm, guilt nibbles at the edges of my conscience. They'll be worried. Whatever their faults, my parents love me in their way. I power on the phone, wincing as it immediately begins vibrating with incoming notifications. Dozens of missed calls. Hundreds of texts. Voicemails from my mother, my father, Richard, my sister Eliza. The most recent text from Eliza makes my stomach clench. Please, Jules. Just let us know you're alive. I can't go back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I can ease their immediate fears. My thumbs hover over the screen before typing a simple message. I'm safe. I need time. Please understand. Send. I power off the phone immediately, not wanting to see the flood of responses that will surely follow. Relief washes through me as I set it aside. There. Obligation fulfilled. Now I can go back to this peaceful bubble I've created with Beck, with Juniper Falls, with my new life. I reach for the book he lent me, a dog-eared copy of his favorite novel, and settle deeper into the window seat, feeling lighter. What I don't realize is that those two simple words, I'm safe, have just sent a ping through cellular networks, creating a digital trail that leads straight to Juniper Falls. Chapter 7. Juliette. 3 days of pure joy. That's all I get before my past catches up with me. I'm wiping down tables after the morning rush, humming along to the oldies station Sarah keeps on in the diner. Beck will pick me up for lunch in a bit for a picnic by the waterfall he wants to show me. We've fallen into an easy rhythm, like we've been doing this dance for years instead of days. The bell over the door chimes, and I turn with a smile that freezes on my face. Richard. He stands framed in the doorway, as impeccably dressed as always in a light gray suit that probably cost more than most people in Juniper Falls make in a month. His dark hair is perfectly styled, his posture straight as a ruler. The sight of him is so incongruous in this setting that for a moment I wonder if I'm imagining things. Hello, Jules, he says, his voice calm and measured. The nickname jars me. Only my family calls me Jules. Richard always insisted on using my full name, said it was more elegant. How did you find me? My voice comes out smaller than I intend. He approaches slowly, hands in his pockets. Your text the other night. Once we knew you were safe, it wasn't difficult to trace. He glances around the empty diner. This is quite the departure. I clutch my dishcloth tighter. What are you doing here, Richard? I've come to bring you home, of course. He says it as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. Everyone is worried sick. Your mother hasn't left her room in days. Guilt twists in my stomach. I'm sorry for worrying everyone, but I'm not coming back. Richard's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Juliette, this little adventure has gone on long enough. The wedding can be rescheduled. We can work through whatever cold feet you experienced. It wasn't cold feet, I say firmly. I don't want that life. He sighs, a carefully controlled sound. You're upset. Confused. Perhaps overwhelmed by the scale of the event. That's understandable. He reaches for my hand. But this isn't you, waiting tables in some backwater town. You belong with your family. With me. With people who understand you. I pull my hand away. You don't understand me. You never have. The day of our wedding is hardly the time for an identity crisis, he says, an edge creeping into his voice before he smooths it away. Come home. Talk to your family. To me. We can sort this out like adults. The way he says it, like I'm a child throwing a tantrum, makes anger flare in my chest. I'm not having a crisis. I'm finally seeing clearly. The door chimes again, and my heart stops as Beck walks in. He's early, wearing clean jeans and a button-down shirt I haven't seen before, a small bouquet of wildflowers in his hand. He freezes in the doorway, taking in the scene. Me facing a well-dressed stranger in an expensive suit, tension obvious in the air. Beck, I say, relief flooding through me. His presence feels like a lifeline. Richard turns, assessing Beck with a quick, practiced glance. I'm sorry, we're in the middle of something. Perhaps you could come back later? Beck's eyes dart between us, and I see the moment he understands. His expression shutters closed, the warm, open look I've come to treasure replaced by that guarded mask I thought was gone for good. Sorry to interrupt, he says, his voice deliberately neutral. The wildflowers dangle awkwardly at his side. No, you're not interrupting, I say quickly. Richard was just leaving. Jules, Richard sighs. Be reasonable. This isn't where you belong. These aren't your people. His voice softens, taking on the persuasive tone he uses in business negotiations. I've arranged for a car. We can be home by evening. Your mother will have Dr. Mitchell waiting if you need something to calm your nerves. I look to Beck, silently pleading for him to say something, anything, to fight for what we've been building. To give me a reason to stay that's stronger than the guilt and obligation pulling me back. But he just stands there, silent. His jaw tightens, and he drops his gaze to the floor. I should go, he says finally, already backing toward the door. Beck, wait, I start, but Richard cuts me off. Beck's eyes meet mine one last time. There's pain there, and something else, resignation, maybe. As if he's watching an ending he always expected. It's your choice, he says quietly, and then he's gone, the door swinging shut behind him. The wildflowers lie forgotten on the nearest table. I stare at the door, a mixture of hurt and confusion washing over me. Part of me wants to run after him, to make him understand that this isn't what it looks like. But another part, the part that's been trained since childhood to smooth over uncomfortable situations, keeps me rooted to the spot. Jules. Richard's voice pulls me back to the present. He's watching me carefully. I can see you've been through a lot. Why don't we sit down and talk properly? He gestures to one of the diner booths, his manner reasonable, controlled. I glance once more at the door Beck disappeared through, then at the abandoned flowers. The message couldn't be clearer. He didn't even care enough to fight for me. Not even a little. Fine, I say, my voice hollow as I slide into the booth across from Richard. Let's talk. An hour later, I'm still sitting across from Richard, half listening to his carefully constructed arguments for why I should return home. His words wash over me, phrases like family obligation and proper resolution and damage control, but all I can think about is Beck walking away. I need to do something before I decide anything, I tell Richard abruptly, cutting him off mid-sentence. His surprise is evident, people don't interrupt Richard Montgomery. Wait here. I won't be long. Outside, the spring air feels too bright, too cheerful for the heaviness in my chest. I cross the street to Lawson Auto Repair, each step more determined than the last. The garage doors are open, but the main bay is empty. No sign of Beck or the Chevy. I find him in the back workshop, bent over a workbench, tools spread around him in organized chaos. The set of his shoulders is rigid, his movements mechanical as he cleans a part one don't recognize. Beck. My voice echoes in the quiet space. He doesn't turn around. Your fiancé still waiting? He's not my fiancé anymore, I say. I thought I made that clear. Did you? His voice is flat, emotionless. So different from the man who held me yesterday, who whispered my name like it was something precious. Why did you leave like that? I ask, taking a step closer. Why didn't you say something? He sets down a wrench with deliberate care. What was there to say? Anything. The word bursts out of me. You could have told me to stay. You could have fought for me. For us. Now he does turn, and the coldness in his eyes stops me in my tracks. There is no us, Juliette. There's you, with your perfect life waiting for you with Richard. And there's me, fixing cars in Juniper Falls. Like always. That's not fair, I whisper. You know that's not what I want. Do I? He crosses his arms, creating another barrier between us. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like your life caught up with you exactly on schedule. Like I said it would. Each word is a precise cut, delivered with surgical detachment. This isn't my Beck. This isn't the man who held me under the stars, who kissed me like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. So that's it? I ask, hating the tremor in my voice. One road bump and you shut down? Decide for both of us that it's over? I didn't decide anything. Your life did that for us. He turns back to his workbench, effectively dismissing me. The car will be ready tomorrow. You can take it or leave with him and have someone get it later. Your choice. The finality in his voice slams into me like a physical blow. I wait, hoping for some crack in this cold facade, some hint of the connection we shared just hours ago. Nothing. You know what the difference is between you and Richard? I say finally, backing toward the door. At least he's honest about who he is. You pretended to be something else. Someone who cared. His shoulders tense, but he doesn't turn around. Doesn't deny it. Doesn't fight for me. I walk out of the garage, back straight despite the shattering inside my chest.
Chapter 8. Beck. The garage feels too quiet without her in it. 4 days since Juliette walked out. 4 days of throwing myself into work, taking on every repair job I can find, staying busy from dawn until well past midnight. 4 days of telling myself I did the right thing, that she's better off without me, that this was always how it was going to end. 4 days of complete misery. I twist a stubborn bolt harder than necessary, knuckles white around the wrench. The Chevy sits in the corner of the shop, fully repaired now, a ghost of what might have been. She didn't come back for it. The front bell chimes, and I drag myself away from the engine I've been taking apart for no good reason. Probably Mrs. Thompson about her oil change, or maybe Ben needing parts for his truck. Instead, I find Hazel Elliott standing in my office, arms crossed, looking at me like I'm one of her wayward students. You look terrible, she announces without preamble. Thanks. I turn back to the counter, pretending to sort through invoices. Did you need something, Hazel? I need you to stop being a fool, but I suspect that's asking too much. She approaches the counter, dropping her purse on it with a thud. Sarah says she hasn't seen you at the diner in days. Been busy. I gesture vaguely at the garage, which is admittedly fuller than usual. Every car in town seems to have developed mysterious ailments this week. Too busy to eat? Or too busy avoiding the place where you might be reminded of her? I still my hands on the papers, shoulders tensing. I'm not having this conversation. Clearly. Hazel's voice softens slightly. But someone needs to have it with you, and heaven knows you're not having it with yourself. She's gone, Hazel. The words scrape my throat raw. Back to her life. Where she belongs. Is that what you told yourself when you stood there like a statue while that fancy man tried to drag her back to a life she ran away from? She doesn't raise her voice, but each word lands like a precise blow. Is that what you told yourself when you let the first good thing that's happened to you in years walk right out your door without a fight? Heat rises in my neck. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, Beckett Lawson. She taps a finger against the counter for emphasis. I've known you since you were 8 years old, sitting in my classroom with those sad eyes after your father left. I watched you build walls so high nobody could climb them. Watched you push away every person who might actually matter. That's not. It's exactly what this is, she cuts me off. You push people away before they can leave you. That way, you get to control the hurt. That way, it's your choice, not theirs. I turn away, unable to meet her knowing gaze. She doesn't belong here. That's not for you to decide. Hazel's voice follows me. Did you ever once ask her what she wanted? Or did you just decide for her, like everyone else in her life has always done? The question hits too close to home, driving the air from my lungs. I brace my hands against the workbench, head bowed. You know what the saddest part is? Hazel continues more gently. You're so busy protecting yourself from your father's ghost that you can't even see you've become exactly like him. Walking away when things get hard. The comparison slices through me. I'm nothing like him. No. He left before someone could leave him too. Your mother told me that once. Said he couldn't handle the responsibility, the risk of failing the people who counted on him. She sighs, the sound heavy with years of observation. Look me in the eye and tell me that's not exactly what you did to that girl. I can't. The truth of it sits like lead in my stomach. She deserves better than me, I manage finally, the closest I can come to honesty. That's not for you to decide either. Hazel's voice gentles further. But if you believe it, then be better. Be the man who fights for what matters instead of the one who walks away. Her words hang in the air between us, impossible to ignore, impossible to dismiss. What if she doesn't want me to fight for her? The question emerges smaller than I intended, revealing more vulnerability than I've shown anyone in years. Hazel picks up her purse, heading for the door. Then at least you'll know you tried. At least you won't spend the rest of your life wondering what might have happened if you'd been brave enough to find out. I park the Chevy at the curb of what has to be the most intimidating house I've ever seen. 3 stories of pristine white columns and manicured hedges, a circular driveway with a fountain in the center, and at least 4 luxury cars parked in front. This is Juliette's world, and I've never felt more out of place. But I didn't drive 4 hours to turn back now. Juliette appears from around the side of the house, where garden paths wind between sculpted topiaries. She freezes mid-step, staring at me like she can't quite believe what she's seeing. Even from this distance, I can tell she looks different. Her hair is perfectly styled, and she's wearing a pale blue dress that probably costs more than most people's monthly rent. Beautiful, but somehow less like herself. I stand by the driver's door, keys clutched in my hand, suddenly unsure what to say now that I'm actually here. She approaches slowly, as if the Chevy might vanish if she moves too quickly. Beck? Her voice carries on the still air. What are you doing here? Fixed your car. The words come out gruff, inadequate. I clear my throat. Sarah gave me your address. She stops a few feet away, close enough that I can see the wariness in her eyes. You drove all the way to Charlotte to deliver my father's car? No. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to meet her gaze. I drove all the way to Charlotte to tell you I was wrong. Surprise flickers across her face. I've been pushing people away my whole life, I continue, the words I rehearsed on the drive down now tumbling out unfiltered. Convincing myself they'd leave anyway, so why bother fighting for them? When you needed me to fight for you, I didn't. I just proved what you already feared. That you weren't enough. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. Beck? But you are enough, Juliette. More than enough. My voice grows stronger with the truth of it. I was the one who wasn't brave enough to admit what was happening between us. What happened the moment you walked into that diner? What was happening? She asks quietly. I was falling in love with you. The admission feels like jumping off a cliff, terrifying and freeing all at once. Still am. A tear slips down her cheek, but she doesn't move closer. It's been days, and you didn't call. Didn't text. Just let me walk away. I know. Shame burns in my chest. I told myself you were better off without me. That I was letting you go back where you belonged. I gesture at the grand house behind her. But then I realize that's my fear talking, not my heart. She glances back at the house, something like suffocation crossing her features. I don't belong here. I never did. She turns back to me. I was going to leave again tomorrow. For good this time. Hope flares in my chest. Where were you going to go? A small smile touches her lips. There's this little mountain town with a diner that needs waitresses and a mechanic who makes me feel like myself. My heart hammers against my ribs. This mechanic sounds like someone who doesn't deserve a second chance. Maybe. She takes a step closer. But he drove 4 hours to tell me he loves me. That counts for something. Juliette. Her name comes out like a prayer. Come home. Not because I'm telling you where you belong, but because I'm asking you to choose me. Choose us. The last of the distance between us disappears as she closes the gap, her hands coming up to frame my face. I already did. I just needed you to choose me too. When our lips meet, it feels like finding something I didn't know was lost. Like coming home after a long journey. Her tears are salty against my lips, her body warm and real in my arms. I'm sorry, I whisper against her mouth. I'm so sorry I didn't fight for you. You're fighting now. She pulls back just enough to meet my eyes. That's what matters. Behind us, the Chevy sits gleaming in the sunlight, a bridge between two worlds that suddenly don't seem so far apart. So, I say, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. What happens now? She smiles, bright and real, the Juliette I know peeking through the Charlotte veneer. Now we give my dad his car back and then we go home. Everything else we can figure out on the way. Home. To Juniper Falls. To the life we're choosing, together.
Epilogue. Juliette. Juniper Falls, 3 months later. Spring has melted into summer, painting Juniper Falls in lush greens and bright wildflowers. The evening air is warm against my skin as Beck and I stroll hand in hand down Main Street, our steps unhurried after dinner at the Copper Kettle. Sarah outdid herself with that pie, I say, leaning into his shoulder. After 3 months back in Juniper Falls, these quiet moments still feel like small miracles. Beck's thumb traces circles on my palm. She's trying to fatten me up. Says I was getting too skinny with my own cooking. She's not wrong. I poke his ribs playfully, earning one of those rare, full smiles that still make my heart skip. We turn onto Maple Street, where quaint houses line both sides. One catches my eye. It's a tidy bungalow with a garden bursting with summer blooms and a small wooden structure by the sidewalk. Oh, a little free library, I say, tugging back toward it. I've always loved these. As we approach, a woman in her 40s looks up from where she's arranging books in the small cabinet. Her blonde hair is pulled back in a loose bun, and she's wearing a soft blue cardigan. Evening, she calls with a warm smile. Feel free to take something if you see anything you like. It's beautiful, I say, admiring the hand-painted details on the little wooden house. Did you make it? My late husband did, years ago. Her eyes crinkle with the memory. I'm Clara, by the way. You must be Juliette. Sarah mentions you often. Small town, Beck says with a hint of amusement. The best kind, Clara agrees, adjusting her glasses to peer at him. You're looking well, Beck. Happier than I've seen you in years. He shrugs, but his arm tightens around my waist. Good things happen sometimes. Clara's laugh is gentle. That they do. She turns back to her library, straightening a row of paperbacks. I teach English at the high school. Been trying to get these teenagers to love books as much as I do for 30 years now. That's wonderful, I say, picking up a well-worn copy of Jane Austen's Persuasion from the shelf. One of my favorites, Clara notes. Second chances are rather precious, don't you think? Very, I agree, feeling Beck's eyes on me. Clara waters a pot of geraniums beside the library, her movements unhurried. My Robert and I had 22 years together before cancer took him. Not long enough, but we made every day count. She glances between us, her gaze kind but knowing. I had my great love once. If you're lucky enough to find yours, don't waste time. That's my free advice, worth exactly what you paid for it. It's good advice, Beck says quietly. We say our goodbyes, and as we continue our walk back toward the garage, Beck grows contemplative. The evening has deepened around us, strings of lights coming on in shop windows, casting a gentle glow on the sidewalk. "You okay?" I ask, nudging his shoulder. "You got quiet." Thinking about what Clara said. We stop in front of the garage, the familiar Lawson auto sign illuminated above us. The place that brought us together. The place that feels more like home than any mansion ever could. Beck turns to face me, taking both my hands in his. His eyes hold that intensity that still takes my breath away. Clara's right. I don't want to waste another day. My heart stutters as he steps closer. "I wasted too much time being afraid," he continues, his voice low and certain. "Afraid of letting someone in. Afraid of not being enough. But every morning I wake up next to you, I'm less afraid and more, me." He takes a deep breath. "I love you, Juliette. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. No more wasting time." Tears prick at my eyes as understanding dawns. "Beck? Marry me." Simple. Direct. Completely Beck. Not someday. Soon. Just us, no fuss, no expectations. Just love. Joy bubbles up inside me, bright and effervescent. "Yes," I whisper, then louder, "yes." His smile breaks like sunrise as he pulls me close, his kiss a promise sealing our future. Against his lips, I murmur, "No big fussy wedding. Just us. Just real." "Just us," he agrees, his forehead resting against mine. That's all I've ever needed. In the warm summer night, with the town quiet around us and the stars emerging overhead, I've never felt more certain of anything. This is where I belong. Not because anyone told me so, but because I chose it. Because we chose each other. 2 weeks later, I stand at the edge of the overlook where Beck once brought me, that perfect vista where Juniper Falls nestles in the valley below. The setting sun gilds everything in warm light, the mountains, the trees, the small gathering of people who become more family to me than blood ever was. No white dress this time. Instead, I wear a simple blue sundress that matches the color of the sky. No elaborate floral arrangements, just wildflowers gathered this morning and tied with ribbon. No string quartet, just the natural symphony of birdsong and rustling leaves. Beck waits for me by the wooden arbor Tessa's husband Hale built for the occasion. Beckett Lawson looks both nervous and certain in a way that makes my heart swell, dressed in a crisp button-down and dark jeans, more polished than his everyday look but still unmistakably him. Beside him stands Micah, the mail carrier who stops for coffee with Beck most mornings, sharing companionable silence before the day truly begins. Their friendship is quiet but solid, much like Beck himself. Sarah gives my hand a squeeze before I begin the short walk toward my future. On my side of the arbor, Hazel waits with that knowing smile she's worn since the day Beck announced our engagement at the diner. "Told you so," she'd whispered to me then, eyes twinkling. Clara sits in the second row, behind Sarah, her honey blonde hair catching the light. When our eyes meet, she offers a warm smile and a small nod that feels like a blessing. The ceremony is brief, heartfelt. No lengthy vows written to impress an audience. Just honest promises exchanged in clear voices that carry on the mountain air. Beck's hands are steady as they hold mine, his eyes never leaving my face as we speak the words that bind us together. "I, Beck, take you, Juliette, exactly as you are. Not who anyone thinks you should be. Just you." My voice trembles slightly as I echo the sentiment, adding, "I choose you, today and every day." As I look out at the small circle of witnesses, Sarah wiping away tears, Hazel beaming, Clara watching with quiet joy, a profound sense of peace washes over me. This is what I ran toward without even knowing it. Not away from a life I didn't want, but toward the one I desperately needed. By the power vested in me, the justice of the peace says, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Beck's kiss is gentle but certain, a promise of all the days to come. As we turn to face our small audience, now clapping and cheering, I catch a curious moment, Clara, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, and just behind her, Micah watching her with unmistakable interest, the slightest smile playing at the corners of his mouth when she turns and their eyes meet. Beck notices too, his eyebrow lifting slightly as he leans to whisper in my ear, "Looks like Juniper Falls might be working its magic again." I laugh, threading my fingers through his. "Everyone deserves to find what we found. Not everyone is lucky enough to run away in a wedding dress and break down in front of the right garage," he teases, pulling me closer. "Best car trouble I ever had," I agree, raising my face for another kiss as the sun dips behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of promise. The end. This has been Just One Look. Written by Susanne Ash. Copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Production copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you want me to put more of my books on YouTube. Visit my website at www.susanneash.com for more of my books or find me on Amazon.